Morning team. I want to share a shift in perspective, a subtle change in understanding that can help you to enter the meditative state more easily and to remain in the meditative state for longer. Also to deepen the effect of meditation, to increase the extent to which the mind subsides and allows your being to center entirely within the present moment. So in meditation, in the meditative state, we bring ourselves into a conscious awareness of now. No future, no past, and not even too interested in the present either. A sense of the mind activity subsiding into a silence. And this silence of the mind activity results in serenity, peace, lightness, an energy that pervades through the entirety of the being. There are various methods and practices that are intended to bring the practitioner into a state of this abidance within conscious awareness, a conscious awareness unmixed with the content of the mind, unmixed with the usual habit of analyzing, interpreting, trying to figure out the world and your own mind. A sense of all of this just subsiding, just falling away. There are many practices that are designed to bring the practitioner into this state. And what I wanted to just draw attention to today and highlight today is a perspective that can happen in meditation. And this is a trap or a wrong turn that I have taken myself, which is when coming into that meditative state, there is a background belief that I am somehow trying to block out the world. A sense of applying a strenuous effort and putting energy into the discipline of constructing a sort of psychological barrier that is intended to prevent the outside world from getting in. A sense of trying to firmly and sternly ignore the future and to tighten up, brace oneself against the past, to hold rigidly fast within this singular present moment. Now, this is powerful in its own right. It's a way of training the mind and increasing psychological fortitude and discipline. However, staying within that mental state is exhausting and inevitably leads to frustration because you can't stay like that for very long. The subtlety here, because you're trying to block out the future, eventually thoughts of future will arise. In the same way that if I was to say to you, don't think about a purple elephant. Naturally, you tried not to, but it's going to happen because you're trying not to think about something. And it's the same way in trying to ignore the past. Well, the more you try to ignore it, the more it's going to try and surface. You can't let go of something that's holding on to you. So too with the outside world. Trying to block out barriers against it and a sense of I can't engage with anything outside. You will be frustrated and feel like you've let yourself down, or you're not practicing correctly or efficiently enough. It's that the thoughts of the outside world inevitably pull your attention away from your practice. So here is the shift in perspective. It's a small change. It's a subtle change. Just a slight shift in position. That's all it is. It's a slight shift in our conscious, aware understanding that can have enormous benefits for allowing a more conducive to peace and serenity practice. It should ultimately be effortless because conscious awareness does not struggle. Conscious awareness does not apply effort and energy. Conscious awareness, presence, the presence of conscious being does not struggle. It is the mind that struggles. So the shift here, instead of trying to block out the future, instead recognize there's no such thing as the future. We cannot make the mind ignore the future. Why? Because there's no such thing as the future. The mind actually creates the future. The future is constructed out of, the future is made of, the substance of the future is imagination, anticipation, worry, anxiety, apprehension, and fantasy. Now this might seem like, well, you're just arguing definitions, but actually this is very important and very profound. The shift in perspective to, instead of trying to ignore the future, ignoring the future subtly implies to your mind that the future does exist. You're just choosing to ignore it. If we shift that position into there's no such thing as the future, it is the mind that creates the future. Well, that's a lot easier. All we have to do is withdraw the attention away from the mind-created concept of future by withdrawing that attention, residing in being, and recognizing clearly there is no future to ignore. The mind created it. So too with the past. We cannot ignore the past. We can also not pretend that there were not previous events. Of course there were. We know there were. But understanding that the past can only continue to exist in the mind as memory. That's all. Yes, the past can be stored in the body too, energetic patterns within the body. But rather than this belief that there is a solid, tangible location or place or cache or library or catalogue of things that exist in a physical past, just ignore all of that and recognize that when we withdraw attention from the mind, the past dissolves as well. Within the present moment, we naturally are left with the remnants of previous events, of course. but that's okay in the present. That's fine. It's not a problem to conscious awareness. So it's not a sense of ignoring the past or trying to barricade or block. Just recognizing there's no such thing in the way we commonly understand it to exist. The remnants of the past may manifest in the present, but in the present, conscious awareness is not bothered by the past. Now we come to the outside world. In this present moment, what about I don't want to let the outside world in. Well, so too, this outside world, as we have come to understand it, is actually a construct of the mind. The universe is unfolding. It's clear that something is happening, absolutely. But what is happening has been over many years interpreted by your mind, categorized, partitioned up, delineated, divided, and separated into many different concepts, ideas, and, most importantly of all, narratives. You have a narrative about what the outside world is, what people are, what the world is, what the universe is. Many stories. Recognizing that actually, if we completely withdrew the attention from all of these stories, let's say you can't apply any names, any labels, any images, any stories, any words, any numbers, all of it, any concept of physical, deep concepts here, deeply ingrained. Concepts that are so deep they've gone into the body, into the bones, into the brain. It is a belief. The world is made of matter. It is a thing out there. Well, what if you relieved yourself of the burden of trying to understand what the outside world is? Trying to create an accurate picture of the outside world so that I, as an individual ego, might be able to navigate this world most efficiently and most productively. Just for the time that you're meditating, relieve yourself of the burden of trying to do this. 20 minutes. Actually, there is no outside world. That outside world that I have come to believe in takes place in the mind. Everything we perceive, everything we experience takes place within the mind. So, it's not a sense of ignoring or blocking anything out. Instead, a recognition the mind is creating these things. The mind creates the future, the mind creates the past, the mind creates the outside world. So in meditation, shifting into that perspective, rather than trying to create a little castle around yourself and block everything out. That won't work, ultimately. It's a good start, but it won't work ultimately. Eventually, coming to the place, this thing that I'm trying to block out, these concepts that I'm trying to block out, I'm actually creating them. And in order to be free of them, to feel the peace of being removed from them, I simply need to cease creating them. Simply withdraw the energy and attention from the future, withdraw the energy and attention from the past, withdraw the energy and attention from the outside world, and simply reside within the open, empty space of pure present being. A sense of simply abiding as what is. Everything I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. If you like my approach and some of the things I'm talking about here, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button for more meditation advice and tips. I also also have channel memberships that you can join if you would like to see my more bespoke guided meditations and watch them without ad interruptions. That's everything I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Be well and stay present.